What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And we have our returning guest, no stranger to the tavern. We have Nick from the Ring Fanatics. What's going on, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Glad to have you back on.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Always
Appreciate
good
it.
to have a returning guest, man.
Yeah, they got me on again.
Yeah, for anybody who maybe didn't catch the first episode, Nick, tell everybody about Ring Fanatics.
Yes, so it's a wrestling podcast that my friends Joel and now Gina, since the last time I've been on here, added on a third co-host. So us three weekly talk about anything that's going on in the world of wrestling. Typically release them Friday afternoon Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to go check it out, I believe as we're recording this, we're doing a live Q&A this week. So it might have already been out. So yeah.
Awesome. How did you find a female wrestling fan to be a part of your show? We've been scouring for one.
Well, we had mutual friends, so I kind of figured out through them that she was a wrestling fan. Just asked her to come aboard, and she agreed. And
That's awesome,
yeah.
man. That's really cool. I would love to, we have Sheena and Chick Foley, and I love her perspective, but she's Chick Foley. I would love to get a tavern female. So if any listeners out there, if you're a lady and you love pro wrestling, hit us up.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. They're unicorns, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, you know the format, Nick. I think everybody else knows we have 3 new topics we're going to debate. We'll go probably 10 to 15 minutes on each topic. And I say we get into it. If you guys are ready to get into it,
let's do it.
Of course.
All right. Our first topic of the evening. Now, sadly, we did just lose a legend in the business. We lost Scott Hall. Huge loss for the wrestling industry. So I thought it was, I think as collectively, we thought it was fitting to have a Scott Hall question. So our first debate topic is pick one, Scott Hall or Razor Ramon.
Okay, so let's just lay the rules down. Like, how are we viewing this? Like, is there a specific criteria? Like, is this just your personal favorite? Is this like impact on the business? Like, how are we doing this?
I mean, I would say personal favorite, but
it's so hard because it kind of blurred the lines when he went over to WCW with the NWO. Kind of like transformed one into the other, one in the same. We all know Razor Ramon is Scott Hall and Scott Hall is Razor Ramon, but like what a body of work between the two. Like if you just separate what he did in WWF compared to what he did in WCW, like the ladder matches, Razor Ramon, like that forever set the precedent of ladder matches. Every ladder match we watch today is compared to that ladder match.
Yeah.
And
he was one of the few people, if not the person that people think of when they see the Intercontinental Championship. He made that title prestige. If you see that belt, you see Razor Ramon's face right next to it. And from that, like that era, it's like wasn't he part of the first ladder match ever?
Yeah.
That too.
Him and
So
Shawn Michaels.
a lot of firsts or prestigious moments for him. So it's really, really puts everything out into like the wrestling world. Like
the only guy with
the
only guy with the balls to go on Jerry Springer and give a kid the belt. Gave the Intercontinental belt, which is why he had the white strap at Mania.
Really?
I did not know that.
He gave a kid on Jerry Springer his Intercontinental title.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And
why did he do that?
It was
a generous thing to do. Like you gave it away.
Yeah, the kid was a big fan of his. He was had a disease that he was fighting, and he came out on there to, so the kid can meet his hero. And they gave the kid a trip to WrestleMania, and then he took the belt off and gave it to him and said, "Hey, this is yours."
Wow.
Wow,
On Jerry Springer? on Jerry
What's that?
Springer? On Jerry Springer?
On the Jerry Springer show.
that's
Yeah.
just Scott Hall being Scott Hall. Like, hey, listen, don't ask for permission. You're better to get forgiveness, and he just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think like he's the first. I'm wanting to say there was a ladder match on a house show with Bret Hart.
And Tom McGee, I want to say.
Yeah, I can't remember. You might be right, Tom. I just remember that there was one before, but that was the one that was like shown to the masses.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a dark match to see how a ladder match would work.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, man, I'll kick it off as far as like making my pick, setting the debate, whatever you want to say. This is really hard for me, and I know like everyone is up in arms. Obviously, we're all brokenhearted about losing a legend. And I think this guy is like one of the smartest minds. Like it blew my mind that this guy wasn't working. Obviously, he had his demons, but when he got cleaned up through DDP and all of that stuff, I really thought this guy would be someone that you would want on your creative team. Like he was that level of genius, but I don't want this to come across as disrespect, but I can't just lie. I have to say how I feel. I was never a Scott Hall, Razor Ramon guy. Never was. I liked what he did. I thought he was a great character, but he was never one of my guys. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't like one. I know some people like he's one of their favorites. So, I would say I have to pick Scott Hall just because the Razor Ramon thing, I was pretty young. When did he debut in WWF? Like
92
No, I was gonna say early 90s, maybe.
So I was like 92. I was 9 years old.
I wasn't even born yet. I wasn't even born.
I was old enough to. I was watching. I was watching since like Andre and Hogan, so I remember him. But I remember that era of WWE for me. 92. I was much more of a WCW guy. That's when like Sting, Luger, Ric Flair, all of that was going on. And Scott Hall coming to WCW, I feel like I'm saying something that probably hundreds of podcasters are saying this week. Like that moment, and I'm just going to beat a dead horse. Like that moment of him walking through the crowd, Tony Schiavone, what's he doing here? Him getting into the ring. This is pre-internet. You really don't know what's going on. It felt real. You want a war? We'll give you, all of that. Like, and then I got a big surprise for you next week. Kevin Nash shows up. And I thought like Scott Hall was more of himself as Scott Hall.
Right.
Like Razor was that early 90s WWE gimmick. So I got to say Scott Hall, man. I have to say Scott Hall. I think that's when he started really doing the things that we all think about. The scary fingers, that he may have done that as Razor Ramon, but I associate that with Scott Hall. The survey, the hey yo, I really think hit big as Scott Hall. That became like his opening line. I know he said that as Razor, but like I feel like that's when he really became the guy that we all know and love as Scott Hall in WCW.
One moment that really I think showed him being him. You say him being himself. Yeah. One moment was when him and Kevin Nash laughed their asses off at Sid when Sid blundered the line and said, "I got half the brains." Yeah. And they just lost it laughing in the ring. Like that was real. Like that
felt real.
Yeah, that was true. That was true Scott Hall.
I think Razor's the big larger than life, that nostalgia kind of, you lean into that just because he's the fucking awesome entrance music of Razor. One of the coolest entrances, but I gotta go Scott Hall.
And I'm glad you brought that point up, because that will lead into what. So for me on this one, it was tough, and I can make an argument for both. Like, and I think, you know, the impact that Scott Hall had on the business, I mean, it's hands down one of the biggest impacts in the
Ever.
So I can make an argument for both. So I'm going to pick Razor Ramon, and for this reason. When he debuted, I was always a big Diamond Stud fan in WCW, because we had WCW. So the Diamond Doll, Diamond Dallas Page, and Diamond Stud,
hailing from the Diamond Mines.
The Diamond Mines, he comes out, he has the girl come in and rip his pants off, you know.
Yeah.
And so when he debuted as Razor Ramon, that was the first time as a wrestling fan, when I was a 7-8-year-old kid, that I saw that this guy was in WCW.
Right.
And now he's in WWF as a different character.
Right.
Like, it opened me up to the wrestling world more than what I was. I feel like that was a pivotal point for me, because that's the first time I was like, wait a second, these guys can be other places as other people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I was always after that, I was always a Razor Ramon fan, just because he came out and did and the Razor's Edge was always, one of my favorite finishers. I thought it was such an innovative finisher. And I think just as a kid, seeing him transition from WCW to WWF and not really understanding why and how, but that kind of making me question things about the wrestling industry. I think that's why I'm going to pick Razor.
That's awesome. A cool story. I remember him as Big Scott Hall in AWA, tag teaming with Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back in the day, and loving him.
I don't remember that, but I remember I've seen pictures of it, and it's crazy to see.
Yeah, I the match versus the Road Warriors that they had was really awesome. But I'm gonna pick Razor Ramon too, because those vignettes brought vignettes to a whole nother level. The way they were produced, like their own little TV shows, and then for the introduction of him, it felt like a big deal. You couldn't wait to see this guy wrestle, and then he lived up to it. He was just so freaking cool. And then what Scott Hall became in WCW was all from Razor Ramon. So it's just an extension of that. So it's just a guy, he just got it, and he just evolved. He just evolved Scott Hall from Razor Ramon so seamlessly. Like, it wasn't even an effort for them. In the Scott Hall walks, many little things that that he did. So like the Ayo, he always started off his promos with that. It was just so much he's known for it. And look what he did for Sting. Where would Sting's career have gone if he didn't become the Crow?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the curtain call.
Brainstorm.
The curtain call. If the curtain call didn't happen, so many things would have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, really, it's crazy. What do you think, Nick?
Well, like I said before, I was not around for most of his time. I was born in late 90s, so I kind of really didn't have much experience of watching him. But from what I've kind of researched throughout the years of Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, and like I said before as well, it's just you can associate a lot of things towards Razor Ramon. Like, you see the Intercontinental Championship, you think of Scott Hall. You think of ladder matches. Razor Ramon. And then same with ladder matches, Razor Ramon. You think of the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Being cool, Razor Ramon. And there's a lot of things you pop up. The first thing you think of is Razor Ramon. Scott Hall, you can think of some things. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. But I think there's a lot of association, a lot of things you could staple down on Razor Ramon's name. And just his character was just, like you said, Thomas, is just very cool, and he's a bad guy for a reason. He made the toothpick look very cool in your mouth. It's just a lot of the things that he did as Razor Ramon, which is very cool. As a fan, against someone who didn't really experience it as his time went along, it felt different in a way.
Right.
He made me want to go back and watch Razor Ramon matches. He made me want to go back and look at all of his feuds and what he meant towards the business. And I wish I was around during that time, because like you said too, Chad, is like the transition from him going to WWF to WCW might have felt a little like really cool at that time. Wrestling was different back then. No internet, no like things buzzing around prior, so you didn't know what was happening.
Right.
But a lot of moments made from Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, two different things. But I feel like Razor Ramon was the character that really drove a lot of people to wanting to get into wrestling. That kind of kicked off Scott Hall. If there wasn't Razor Ramon, there wouldn't be a Scott Hall. That's how I look at it.
Very true. I mean, the walk when he would walk into a room, like all of that, like, dude, I'm with you. Like Razor was like oozing machismo, as he would say. He made being a bad guy cool. He was, like you wanted to get behind him.
Just imagine with all the bullshit gimmicks that were going on around that time in WWF, imagine somebody comes to you and says, your name's going to be Razor.
Yeah.
Razor Ramon.
Like, the name's kind of cool. I'll be honest. It does sound cool. Razor Ramon, if I think about it.
Well, he pitched that idea to Vince and he asked Vince, have you seen Scarface? And Vince hadn't seen it. And I forget who came up with, I know. He didn't know what his name was going to be. He wanted to be a Scarface type of character. He just knew that he wanted his first name to be Razor. So Scott Hall came up with the name Razor. And then Tito Santana was the one who said Ramon.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Floated him the name Ramon, and that's how you got Razor Ramon. And
that's awesome. That's really cool.
You know.
Yeah, so cool. Like, so I feel like I'm a man on an island right now picking Scott Hall. I feel like I thought everyone was going to pick Scott Hall. I have a question though. What would have happened if Razor never left? If he never left and he stayed in WWE or WWF at the time? Well, there's a bigger question here, because if they don't go, does the NWO ever happen?
Yeah.
Which does WWF get edgier to compete with the edgier WCW product? So does it stay gimmick territory? Where does he stay and live this larger than life gimmick instead of kind of honing in on the realism of who he is as a person in real life? But do you guys think, like, how does the Razor Ramon character evolve?
I think he would have been world champion material. I think he was before he even left, but it just wasn't given enough time to, I guess, evolve into a bigger and better thing. But I think he would at least have given the WWF title. I know a lot of people are saying he was one of the few best that never won it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess I think he would have been strapped with the WWF world title.
I think so too. I think he was a world champion. It's crazy that he never won the big belt in either company. Like, do you, just before you got Tom and Sneed, before you guys answer that question, do you think he is the biggest person that never won a title? See, when I hear that, my mind instantly goes to Roddy Piper.
I think Piper, but I think him too. Like, it's just an argument. I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer.
And that could be a whole nother debate episode.
In the top 2 or 3 to think. But if you think about Piper and you think about, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, you think about their legacies, it really wouldn't have meant anything. Their legacies couldn't have been any bigger than what they were already.
Right. I think the only thing that may have edged out Razor over Piper, just in the minds of, like, at least Vince McMahon, Razor looked like a Vince guy, body type wise.
Oh, of course.
Big guy. Piper didn't look like a big guy. Even though he was bigger in, late 80s, Piper wasn't what we remember Piper as in later years,
Yeah.
The top 3 to never win a title is Scott Hall, Piper, and Jake the Snake.
Wow. Yeah.
I'd even throw Mr. Perfect in there.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Perfect. And, well, yeah.
Ted DiBiase.
Yep.
Yeah. That's an amazing list of people. But again, all those people, they never needed it. It's crazy when you look back. It wouldn't have changed their legacy. You couldn't have thought any more of these guys if they did hold the title.
But I think Scott Hall too. Scott Hall, he just, the man himself, his entire career was cool.
Yeah.
His entire career, the guy was cool, no matter what character he was.
He was the coolest fucking guy in the room.
Yep.
And I could have imagined like a whole bunch of like younger people, younger kids back then, like wanted to be like Razor Ramon. I'm assuming it was like that. And you also got to think too, like what if when he went to WCW as Scott Hall and not joined NWO? Imagine him just by himself. Like wouldn't he have been the same momentum?
Both of those guys' contracts expiring at the same time just happened to work out.
Yeah.
And create the boom for wrestling.
There's so many stories that's come out too now that he's
a lot of
people are telling their story. And I think out of all the stories I read one story of a guy who made a jacket for him for an independent event.
The guy from Sessions.
And took it over to his house, and he wanted to take a picture with him, and Scott said, "Let me get my gimmick real quick," and reached inside the door beside his chair and got a toothpick.
That's awesome.
It's such a cool story because it's not just saying yes to the picture, but he's living, it just shows you the type of guy that he was to do that.
Let me get my gimmick.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I heard this on Busted Open Radio. Everyone always talks about Austin's run at the top and how short it was. If you really look at Scott Hall in the major companies, he only spent 4 years in his first run in WWF, and he only spent 4 years in WCW. But when I think of that Razor and Scott Hall NWO run, it feels so vast because literally every week they were doing things. And like I said, he wasn't one of my guys, but just because he's not one of your favorites, you can't not look at the guy and see what he did for the industry. One of the smaller things, obviously, like the NWO and the curtain call and what that meant to pro wrestling and the ladder match, all of these things we talk about. I think one of the small things that people are talking about, but we haven't mentioned yet, that has to go, we have to say it, is, dude, that match where he put over 1-2-3 Kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he made Sean Waltman in that match.
His reaction to losing,
that was one of the best matches. I can vividly remember that and being shocked when that happened. And the fact that this dude, who is like, at that time they had a rocket on Razor. He was going places, and for him to be like, hey, a little guy, we're not talking about a guy his same size. We're talking about a small guy. For that time, Sean Waltman was a tiny guy.
Yeah.
Sean Waltman at that time was a lot smaller than he is now.
That just shows you that Scott Hall had no ego about wrestling. He would do things that was for the betterment of the business and for the betterment of the match and the story. He always put that first. It wasn't just about him.
They did the same thing for Dallas.
Yeah.
Him and Nash did the same thing, put Dallas over in New Orleans.
Yep.
There's no selfishness there. Somebody in one of the message boards said, "What's your favorite moment?" And I said, when 1-2-3 Kid beat him on Raw, because it was just a special moment.
Super special.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I think we could probably go all night on him. Some final thoughts before we move on.
Like I was going to say, like just based on what you said. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what you said before, Chad, like with not being one of your guys and knowing how much you impact the wrestling business, and just like I said, like multiple times before, I was not around during most of his time.
Right.
But I was able to research it, know what he's done, and be able to realize how much he's impacted the wrestling business, even though I didn't even see a single match of his during his time.
That's what I love about people like you, Nick, and people like young Anthony. You guys didn't grow up with this stuff, but you're such fans that, thank God, we have the network, or Peacock now, unfortunately, where you can go back and read you hear all these old heads like us talking about these things, and you can go back and like relive that shit. That's awesome. And it just shows to me, like, yeah, you weren't alive, but that shows how big of a fan you are, that you go back and you watch that stuff. I appreciate shit like that.
Yeah, me too, man. And it's just like you said, Chad, like somebody doesn't have to be a guy for you to respect them and for you to realize what they mean to you.
I mean, for the business, I love Scott Hall. I'm just saying, as a pure fan, not looking at the scope of the business, like when I was a Sting guy. They were NWO. I fucking hated Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, man. I hated them. I was a Sting guy through and through.
Yep. All right, fellas. Well, we will move on to our next topic of the evening. Now, Nick, this is the topic that you brought to the table, and it is, should the Undertaker be inducted by himself in the Hall of Fame this year?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was gonna lead towards that direction. And then Vader and there's obviously another one announced, and of course he belongs in the Hall of Fame. But is this the year that we should have gotten Taker by himself? Like, obviously his career was portrayed, but we've seen the past 30 years of him. I think that's a career that should have been placed by himself in the Hall of Fame, and that's it. Especially since this year's Hall of Fame is right after SmackDown, only an hour long. I think there's a lot to say about him, whether it's from by itself, Vince, and others. That's going to be an hour itself, and I think they should have gone by himself. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I don't really disagree, but the Hall of Fame is just I'm turning more and more bitter on the WWE Hall of Fame. First of all, it feels like it's an afterthought this year. They're putting the Undertaker in, and it feels like an afterthought. He should be having his own. It should be their own ceremony. It shouldn't be right after SmackDown.
Yeah,
that's a terrible idea.
I hate how they do it in the fucking arena now, in the ring.
Yeah, I know.
Awful.
Yeah.
Like I said, it feels like an afterthought. Like I'm not that. They're really like. First of all, I've always laughed at some of the people they put in anyway. And now you're getting Charmel the same year as the Undertaker.
Oh.
Like, she doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Like, come on. What are they trying to appease Booker T by putting her in?
Yeah, I just look at some of the other people they have in there.
I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah. That's why I laugh at their Hall of Fame. There's definitely Coco Beware. Like, we could just name a list of people who like Nikolai Volkov. Like,
sure, look at the entire celebrity wing. Like,
exactly.
Come on, man.
Those
what
guys
are we doing here?
And it's so dumb. Like, if there was ever a year, it should have been, but like, they need to do something to build the respect back up of the Hall of Fame. And I think if they would have given him it by himself this year, that could have been it. Would have been like when Andre went in and they had a whole ceremony just for Andre.
Yeah, it's out of
that's
respect
where I'm
of
at.
everyone else, out of the respect of him. It's like everyone should just be there to honor Taker, and that's it. It should feel different. It shouldn't be like we've seen the year before. It shouldn't be after SmackDown in the ring, a whole ceremony where people can go up, say a few words about Undertaker, and there you go. It's a whole hour and a half by itself.
Okay, so I just want to play devil's advocate. I'm kind of along the lines with you guys. Like, if Andre went in, Undertaker by himself, Undertaker should have got that single ceremony. But just to play devil's advocate to this, then why not put Stone Cold Steve Austin in? Then why not put Hulk Hogan in by himself? These guys who they were the top guys. Flair. Like, 100%. Why does Undertaker? I get it, man. Undertaker's on my Mount Rushmore. Like, 4 guys on my Mount Rushmore. I'm a Taker guy. I love Taker, but just to play devil's advocate, like, what makes him so special?
It's
that he deserves his own.
I think it's because he's Vince's guy. That's his go-to. That's one of his boys. Someone that he's willing to die for if anything happened. So I think
longevity.
Yeah. And I'm kind of surprised that he didn't make it by himself. I think that if out of everyone, it could have been Vince's choice. Like, I understand he wants other people involved in it this year, but
did Babe Ruth go in by himself? Did Wayne Gretzky go in by himself? Did Joe Montana go in by himself? If they want to be compared to other Hall of Fames,
but then why did Andre go in by himself?
Yeah, that's also
actually Andre was what started the Hall of Fame.
Okay,
that's the main reason. Was he was the first member, and when Andre died, I said, let's start a WWF Hall of Fame. I don't even know if there was a ceremony for him that year.
Do you think if Andre would go in, say he didn't start it and he went in today, would Andre get his own night, or he would be in a class?
He'd be in a 100% in a class.
Probably, but I still think like that should be at least one. I feel like they should have done by himself thing for Hogan and Flair and Stone Cold. Maybe The Rock in the future. I don't know. I'm not sure. That could be questionable, up in the air. But I think those are just people that could have had their own. I feel like they should have had their own. A night. They had a 20+ long career, and they've done so much to impact it that it meant that much to get them by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I hate when they cut things short. I'm there to listen to people tell stories. Give me a half-hour introduction for people. Like, do less people each year and let the people talk. That's what I love.
That, yeah.
Hall of Fame. You get to hear things you never get to hear other times, and that's what I miss with them cutting it down. And
they had to cut it all down to last year's, right? Last year they had to make everyone do like a 5-minute at most speech.
That's bullshit. To me, if you're putting someone into the Hall of Fame, let them talk as long as they want. They've earned it. They put their fucking body on the line. For them to be doing the Academy Awards wrap-up music and telling them to get off the stage in 5 minutes, that's some bullshit.
Hillbilly Jim's still giving his speech.
Mr. T still talking about his mama.
He's still up there talking about it.
What do you think, Sneed? I see you over there shaking your head. I feel like you're hot about it.
I don't think he needs to go in by himself. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I don't think because what standard does that set? Then who gets a by theirself? You know?
Right.
At that point, you know, then everybody's going to think they deserve to be going in by themselves. Also, he didn't make it to the Hall of Fame by himself. All the other people there, you know, it wasn't only him. It was because of the other people. And I'm not saying the people that are going in with him are because of it, but you know, the other people that are in the Hall of Fame helped him have his Hall of Fame career.
Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold.
Yeah. And you know, for them, you know, they didn't get their own. I'm not saying he shouldn't get his own. It sounds bad, but I don't think he should go and have his own ceremony. I don't think anybody should have their own 1 year, the only person to go into the Hall of Fame. Because I think that sets a precedent that then that just causes everybody to think that they need to get their own Hall of Fame.
Yeah, my thing is like, why does it dictate? What dictates you get your own? What if Stone Cold didn't get his own? Why does Taker get his own? And
right. Yep. I mean, I get the longevity, but also, you know, who sold more merchandise than anybody ever? Stone Cold.
Right.
And a lot less time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I do not think a solo Hall of Fame ceremony for just him.
If you're gonna do a solo Hall of Fame, I get it. It's in Texas, man. It's in his home state. I get it, but I'm kind of with you. Like, what? I hate saying what makes him so special, because Taker's one of the most special people in the business. Like, he's the greatest gimmick that ever lived. Like, 30 years. What a fucking Mania run. But I didn't realize, Tom, that Andre only went in because he was the first by himself. So like you said, if Andre would have went in 5-6 years into the Hall of Fame happening, he would have been a part of a class.
100%.
So it's like, there is no precedent to Undertaker going in solo.
I was looking at it in a way of like, people are going to want to go to that to see Taker and not really care about the others. Because and by the time the day comes around, you're gonna ask like, who's in it? Like, oh, shoot, I forgot Vader, Queen Chantel was in it. And then you'll be like, I just want to see Taker talk, and that's it. So if you're really there for him, you know, are you really gonna care about the others? Are you gonna forget about the others that were in it? Is it gonna mean that they're gonna have less talking time than Taker?
What, dude? You don't think people are gonna be tuning in for Charmel?
I mean, yeah. I mean, possibly. Who knows?
Charmel's really sitting there thinking she deserves it.
I mean, all right.
No, there's no way she honestly thinks she deserves it.
But here's the thing too with that, like, just to push back at the Charmel hate. I liked Charmel and Booker T when he was doing the King gimmick.
She wasn't entertaining.
Yeah.
No, she was fine. But my thing is, like, if you're only putting in top guys, we're gonna fucking run out of people to put in.
Yes. Well, that's where I think they hurt themselves when they first came back and they started having classes of 10 people. 12 people. They should have slowed it down back then. Like Piper and Hogan went in the same year. Why? They should have had them both highlight at their own class.
And I don't like how they do the legacy entries.
Yes,
yeah, that's kind of a lot.
Where they'll induct like 10 people just as a legacy. Dude, I get that we want ratings and we want people to tune in for the names that they know, but I mean, some of these names that they entered the Hall of Fame as a legacy entry, they should have been a regular selection.
Entry, yeah.
I agree 100%.
If Charmel can go in, Luna Vachon can go in as her own.
100%.
100% agree with that. 100%.
Luna Vachon should have went in on her own, period. Like,
yep,
no question.
And how about this? Elizabeth isn't even in there, right? She never.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I have no respect for this Hall of Fame anymore.
Yeah.
Look how long it took for Macho Man to go in.
That was his own doing.
Yeah.
We can't get Axe and Smash from Demolition in there?
100% they should be in.
Not even the Steiner brothers in it.
That rumor is they're going in this year.
Almost. Yeah, about it.
They all have travel plans to be in Texas that weekend now. So.
Who out there that is not in the Hall of Fame? What's the biggest snub out there? What's the biggest name that you feel should have been in there by now?
That's not currently in it. Yeah, they're probably waiting on him for
I feel like you wait on Rock.
I don't know if that's a snub as much as a wait.
It's going to be in LA next year. I'm not going to be surprised if they make him by himself. I'm not by himself, but put him in it next year at least.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Oh,
but
there's always the Macho Man. Now he's in. I'm trying to think of somebody else. CM Punk. I mean, he was gone for 7 years.
But that dude's never going in.
Not.
That should be the last person they're going to want to put in there is CM Punk.
He'll go in if he. I mean, Vince will put in. I mean, he put in the Warrior, and they had bad blood. But Punk, it's going to take a long, long time before that happens.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see Punk in there anytime soon.
I mean, they did offer the Hardys, which they rejected, but they rejected them.
Yeah, that was a bullshit offer.
I'm sorry for letting you go.
The Hardys go in together. You don't put in Jeff before you put in the Hardy Boyz.
Yeah, for Jeff's solo career, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Stop it.
Yeah.
Is Ricky Steamboat in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, I think it was early 10 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, Steiner Brothers is a big one. That's a big one.
Vader was too.
Vader was a big one.
Vader's a big one.
What about Sid Vicious?
Oh, I think he's also in talks. I think he's also. I thought he's in it already.
I think he's in talks. He should be in there.
I think he's in talks. I did hear that he might be one of the ones in the class. What about Mr. Perfect?
He's in.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah.
I'm not up on all the Hall of Famers.
Not either. That's a
lot.
People that are not in there that should be in, a bunch that should not be that are. So
yeah, they're trying to
the Demolition. How's Demolition not in there?
Yeah, that's because they're
lawsuit, right?
I can tell you right now, the biggest. I had to Google big names that aren't in the Hall of Fame. The number one name, and he'll never go in. And it's because they'll never allow him to go in.
Yeah.
His family, Owen Hart.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, Owen will never go in, and that's the biggest crime, for sure.
Yeah, that's
I pulled a list up here too.
Vader was on that list. Sid was on that list. I have a list. British Bulldogs, Demolition.
Andy Kaufman.
And British Bulldog was in it last year, wasn't it?
Well, Davey Boy Smith is in the tag team.
Okay, yeah.
Bam Bam Bigelow's not in.
Ooh, Bam Bam!
Wow, that's a big one.
China's not in it. Is China in it? China's in it.
Oh, she did.
She recently went in. I think.
Brian Pillman's not in. Jericho's not in.
Christian's not in it.
Jericho will be in.
Yeah.
Jericho will be in. Christian should have been in.
Yeah. If Edge was in it, then Christian should be in it too. They were literally together for most of their career, for the beginning of it, so might as well.
Come on, man. Put John Tenta. We don't have John Tenta in the Hall of Fame.
Earthquake's not in there.
He certainly belongs in there ahead of a lot of the other people who are in there. So
yeah,
Charmel got in before Earthquake. It's bullshit.
Okay. We're going to end this topic before I get real hot.
Yeah,
all right. You guys have anything to say before we move on?
Nope.
All right. So our final topic of the evening Are you looking forward to a Hardy Boy reunion or a Jeff Hardy solo run in AEW?
It's easy for me. I want the Hardy Boy reunion. There's so many dream matches with the tag team. I was never a huge Hardy solo guy when Jeff went solo. I mean, I enjoyed him, but the Hardy Boys are where it was at for me. And the idea of seeing him against the Bucks and seeing him against the Lucha Brothers and so many of these other guys, that's where it's at for me, seeing him in AEW.
There's so many like you said, there's so many dream matches. I think since that AEW has a stacked tag team division, you can't waste time with it and make Jeff Hardy go by himself. I know they probably don't have a lot of time left in their career, but I think they want to end off their career as a tag team from when they started and have that moment together, end their career together. Like I said, have that moment, go up against all the dream matches that they want. Let them end their career the way they want to do it. Put on the moments, the matches, maybe put over some people. I think that would help the division a lot. Like, there's no time to waste with the division. They kind of wasted that with WWE, where they had no tag team division for a while. So
wow, they haven't had a tag team division for decades.
Yeah,
that place hates tag teams.
Yeah, they always
doesn't want to pay the other.
Right.
Dudley's, Edge, and Christian and the Hardys were there. There hasn't been a tag team division since then.
Yeah, so I think there shouldn't be any time to waste. Give them a tag team run. Let them go because these young guys and put on these dream matches while they
give
can.
them the titles.
Yeah,
give them the titles in AEW. Why not?
It might happen pretty fast. And
Yeah,
again, you know how Tony Khan books. We're going to see Jeff Hardy in some solo matches. He's good at booking his tag teams into single matches. We're going to see Darby versus Jeff Hardy one-on-one.
Yeah,
eventually, and probably not very long before we see that match.
I mean, you could always rekindle the Jeff Hardy CM Punk feud from WWE.
I was going to say Jeff Hardy CM Punk.
Yeah. And then I could definitely see them doing this Jeff Hardy Sammy Guevara angle because of the picture they posted earlier today. It's like kind of resembles the MJF CM Punk feud.
Right.
Do that. Like, just you're my hero, whatever. Put them in the match and let them do what they want to do. I think if I were Tony Khan, I would listen to them, book themselves, and do it how they do it. It's the Hardy Boys. Why would you say no to the Hardys?
I always believed Jeff as a singles competitor more than I did Matt, though.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
We get the star quality.
Yeah.
So who are you picking, Sneed?
Hardy Boys. I mean, I want to see Jeff in these solo matches, but as far as what figure Tom, OG figure.
Tom's got the Hardy figure.
Got it on
Jeff.
But I think at this point in the career, we're not far from seeing them hang it up. And I think seeing them start where they started with what made them who they are. I think seeing a Hardy Boys run with the titles, I think that's going to be a good way to send them off. So I'm here for a Hardy Boys run.
I am too. I mean, I want to watch the Hardy Boys final run with that tag division. I'm picking that over a singles run, but I'm going to say something. It's going to stir the pot, especially to some people that I know listen to this show. I know Jeff's star quality. He's definitely the guy Vince gets behind. He's the Edge in the Christian scenario. He's the Shawn Michaels in the Marty Jannetty scenario, but I always liked Matt Hardy better than Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
So did I.
I always liked Matt Hardy better. And as I became a more like an older fan and found out that, Jeff was the enigma, the crazy spot guy, but Matt was the brains. Matt was the guy putting the matches together. Jeff was just like the guy that said, Matt, tell me what to do and I'll climb on the top of the highest thing and jump off. Like, Matt was the brains of that combo. I always liked Matt. And I'll say another thing. As far as Jeff's singles run, I like Jeff's TNA run better than I liked his singles run in WWE.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For sure. Yeah.
Those early matches in TNA, man, they were good.
And this is how bad I am, Chad, because I was like, I was a Matt Hardy guy. but I was also a Christian guy, and I was like, Marty
Yeah,
Jannetty's gonna make
I
it.
think
Shawn Michaels isn't. I always picked the wrong guy when the tag team broke up.
I think they've done better outside of WWE. If you put them in WWE, they didn't have great runs, but if they left, they were able to do stuff on their own, and they pretty much outshadow. Like Joel says it all the time. He thinks currently Christian's having a better run than Edge, and Ed has always been the bigger name. And in terms of the Hardys, it's like I think as of late, I think they both had enough time doing their stuff on their own. They've been apart for 2 years now, doing their stuff by themselves. I had enough with Matt Hardy by himself leading something, and I've had enough of Jeff Hardy doing mid-card stuff in WWE. I want to see them compete again. I want them to see them in ladder matches again. Nostalgia is coming back, and I'm like, we need more ladder matches, need more tables matches, chairs, TLC, whatever. Put them against these tag teams, and you'll get ratings. More 5-star matches are coming with these two teams.
Okay, so
I'm calling right now.
Are you guys okay with Jeff and Matt in their late 40s still wearing the Hot Topic Gadzooks clothes coming out to the ring?
I think it's still cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I think it's still cool.
It doesn't look. They are still in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I love them. I just had to poke fun at their
wardrobe. Belly hanging over the pants and stuff. It'd be a little different. But
and it's cool that they still have their theme song. That their Hardy Boyz theme song. That was a big shocker to me. I'm like, wow, they're still using it, but it's cool.
I think my favorite meme that's come out of the return so far is the one of the 2 buttons, and it says help my brother or dance to the ring.
He starts dancing. I'm like, his brother's getting beat up.
Yes. I didn't realize it at first. And then I didn't realize it at first, and then I saw on Twitter, I was like, why is Jeff Hardy? Why is Jeff dancing in the middle of the ramp? I'm like, I don't know. But it was hilarious.
I think I got behind Matt more than Jeff during the Lita Edge angle. Yeah. That's when I really was like, I like Matt. He showed fire in that, man. Obviously,
when he first came back after being fired from that, he was friggin' amazing.
He was on fire. Like,
yeah.
And just like the Enigma, you never know he's that guy. You never know what he's thinking. I always thought Matt was better on promos. Like I thought he cut more realistic promos. Like
I go a little bit deeper. Like I don't even care for Jeff Hardy's face paint. I don't understand why he does it.
It's creative. I think it's cool.
Oh, now you're just being an asshole, Tom.
I don't like his face paint. I never thought he needed it.
I don't have a problem with the face paint.
Come on.
He's just taking digs at him now, Sneak.
Yeah, now he's just
really.
I don't like
he doesn't need the face paint. I just don't understand it. I don't know. I guess it's how he wants to express himself. I like him without it.
That's like a thing on his social media. He turns his head and he's got the eyes and he opens his eyes.
Creepy looking.
Oh, it scares him. That's what
scares Tom.
I sleep at night when I think of Jeff Hardy's eyes closed, but it's still looking at me.
Him scared, boy. That I forgot.
He's gonna have nightmares tonight because we talked about it.
I'm scared. So.
I think everybody. I would be shocked if anyone said they would rather see a Jeff Hardy run than a Hardy Boy run right now.
You're talking a top 3 to 5 tag team in the history of tag team.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Definitely top 3 or 5 for sure.
Against the best tag team division we've seen in wrestling in 20 years.
Exactly.
Easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd say almost 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the nostalgia of it too. A lot of fans want to see it. A lot of fans are excited, and like I said, it's been 2 years. Yeah, 2 years since Matt Hardy left, and they didn't do much when they returned in 2017. And it's like, if you want to have a reunion, this is the best time to do it, and there shouldn't be any time to waste on that.
I want a Bucks feud, man. I want that Bucks feud.
Teams today in AEW match up better with the Hardys than they did back in their original run.
Yeah.
I want a Private Party feud. Private Party jumped Matt. It makes sense. Like that's their first little feud leading into a Young Bucks feud. I think that's fun.
I think the Private Party feud should be in that Double or Nothing. I think that should happen then. That's a worthy match to put in.
I honestly think we're going to get that Private Party match in the lead up to Double or Nothing, and it's going to, because we've got 3 months before Double or Nothing. I think Double or Nothing will probably be the Bucks match.
Okay,
with the Hardys.
Forgot how long away it was until he said it.
we don't get those every month pay-per-views. Like
I think it's I think it's only 2 months. Isn't it like May 5th?
No, it's May 29th.
it's Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I thought it was the beginning of March or May.
May 29th, Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend.
Nice 3 months. I love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, definitely a Hardy Boyz run, but and you take the face paint off of him, Tom. Singles run, right? Take that face paint off. Let's get him a singles run. Am I right?
And the armbands on.
There's no face paint when they tag team.
Yeah.
Just no face paint.
Wash that paint off.
Yeah.
Tom will be
take a break from it.
Tom will be in for the singles run without that face paint.
Yeah, he's gonna take the head off the Jeff Hardy of the figure and be like, no face paint anymore.
Just a little
done. All right. Well, anybody have anything final to say before we wrap up for the evening?
I think I'm good, man.
Yeah, it's a great show again.
Well, Nick, tell everybody where they can find you guys.
Sure. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at the Ring Fanatics, on YouTube, the Ring Fanatics podcast, and on Spotify. We're not on Apple. We couldn't get ourselves on Apple. Long story, but yeah, and pretty much every other podcasting platform you have, we just search up the Ring Fanatics podcast and you find us there. I think we're almost up to 200 subscribers on YouTube, so if you can go subscribe to us there, that'd be great. And yeah, that's where you can find us.
Awesome, man. Yeah, go check out Ring Fanatics. You gotta get your co-host. We want him soon.
Yeah, I'm
get him lined up, and we'll have him on too.
Definitely. He's definitely someone you can have a great debate with and talk about wrestling.
Yeah, I love when you guys go at it. I love when you guys go at it.
I love it too because we always have different opinions on a lot of things. He's been a wrestling fan longer than I was, so it's like we have different takes on different things. So we just go at it at times, and I love it. It's fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for the week. Make sure you guys are following us at theturnbuckletavern.com. You can go over there and find all things tavern. All your tavern needs are there. Tom, let's do it. Get your stuff in.
The OG Fig Kid on Twitter and Instagram, and Turnbuckle Sessions with Mike Belcasta every Friday.
Take the face paint off.
Get some gambling tips from Tom. Go listen to Sessions.
Court is dismissed.